Hari Om. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya. Today we begin a beautiful Vedantic text, Saddarshanam, a relatively small work of just about 44 verses written by Bhagwan Ramana Maharshi. You all know Ramana Maharshi was a great Mahatma who lived in Tiruvannamalai near Chennai. He has composed a few words in Tamil, Malayalam, and Sanskritam. Not call him a prolific writer or a composer, but the few works he has done, each one is a class act. And this text, Saddarshanam, was originally written in Tamil. And the title in Tamil was Ulladhu, Narpadu. Ulladhu means what is. What is Ulladhu. That's all. So that means the truth which alone is. That is what it means. So Ulladhu represents the absolute truth, existence which alone is reality. Existence which alone is reality. That is what Ulladhu means. And Narpadu means 40, the number 40. So Ulladhu, Narpadu does not mean there are 40 truths. It means in 40 verses that one truth is revealed. That is what it means. Okay. So I said it's a small work of about 44 verses. I use the word about because actually 40 is the main 40 verses. Then we have a couple of verses in the beginning and couple of verses in the end, which are Mangalacharana and concluding verses. So the substance, this truth, is revealed in 40 verses. So the original text was called Ulladhu Narpadu, text of 40 verses, which reveals the truth. So the word Ulladhu is translated as Sat, the truth, existence. And Darshanam means knowledge or Jnanam or vision. So Sad Darshanam means Brahma Jnanam Atma Vidya, knowledge of the truth or the vision of the truth. So that is the meaning of the title of the text, whether it is the original text in Tamil or the Sanskrita translation. So that is what the title means. A warning. This is not an elementary text of Vedanta. There are no arguments, no explanation. It just reveals the ultimate reality. Not a simple text. Someone who has had some background. In fact, someone who has done a lot of studies will be the right candidate for this text. And most of you have done that. because I myself have been taking the classes for you for the last 12 plus years. So we have done all the necessary background studies. Okay. The original Tamil work was translated into Sanskrita by one of the devotees of Bhagwan Ramana Maharshi. And his name is Vashishta Ganapati Munihi. And the Sanskrita text is called, the Sanskrita version is called Saddarshanam. Most of you know, and I have talked about in detail about Bhagwan Ramana Maharshi, because I had taken Upadesha Sara for you. So I'm not going to go into the biography of Bhagwan Ramana Maharshi. Instead, I will say a few words about Saddarshanam author, the author who translated the original work into Sanskrit, Ganapati Muni. He was a great multifaceted person. Not only a great Sanskrit scholar, he was a freedom fighter, because that is the time frame. The British were being fought against in India. He was also a great social reformer. He worked against social evils of those times, such as untouchability, etc. It's a great Upasaka also. A prolific writer. Collection of his works so voluminous. He has written on so many subjects. He earned the title of Kavya Kantha, one whose throat is literature, in honor of his literary skills. He used to compose verses just like that, right on the stage when he was invited to speak. Sometimes he used to refer, he was such a devotee of Bhagwan Ramana Maharshi, and he used to refer to some of the verses that he composed extempore. He used to call them as Ramana Gita. At that time, there was no word called Ramana Gita. So people confronted him. Hey, what is this Ramana Gita you keep talking about? So he laughingly said, they are only my composition, but they are inspired by Bhagwan Ramana Maharshi. So I call them Ramana Gita. So that is how great he was. Everything on the spot. So he got the title Kavya Gantha Ganapati Muni. As you all know, the title Muni indicates a very reflective, contemplative, saintly person. Kavya Kantha title was given to him by Bhagwan Ramana Maharshi himself. So in his own right, he was a great Jnani himself. As I mentioned, we have studied one of the works of Ramana Maharshi before, Upadesha Sara. In that, in just 30 verses, he gives the essence. Sara means essence. All Upanishadic teachings. The essence of 4 yogas, Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Dhyana Yoga, Jnana Yoga, in his own unique, inimitable style. That Upadesha Sara is a text for everybody. Beginner's text. We probably studied that about 10 years back. Early in this series, I took that text for you. It's a beginner's text. But the one now, Saddarshanam, is an advanced text. And that is why I'm taking it after 10-year gap. Because, as I said, briefly mentioned before, this assumes a great deal of Vedantic knowledge already. This is what you would call a Siddha Purusha Grantha. Siddha Purusha, someone who is accomplished. He has the Siddhi. Here, Jnana Siddhi. We are not talking about any other material Siddhis. Jnana Siddhi, he has attained. He has attained the knowledge. He is established in that knowledge. From his own experience, he is teaching. The truth that he had seen, the truth that he has experienced, the truth that he is established in, he shares that for our benefit, for the benefit of mankind. That is this text. Every verse here reveals his vision. It reveals the vision of truth, reveals the vision of the absolute truth. The beauty of this truth is that it is one alone, without a second. And at the same time, it alone is a substratum and the very essence, the Atma of everything, cause of everything, appearing as everything. So you can start from anything and start inquiry, and you will reach this truth. Whether it is time, space, object, things or beings, the truth is there, pervading, existing as its substratum, as its very essence. And therefore, we can start from anywhere. And that is what he does. From various starting points, he will come and take us to that absolute truth. The wise, the enlightened masters, the Siddha Purusha, Jnana Siddha Purusha, are always in Saddarshanam only because they themselves are the Sat. What is important is that Sannishta, that Nishtha in the Sat. You do everything. But the point is, did you get established in that truth? That's the buck stops there. So here is the vision of truth, Saddarshanam. And this requires that we should be able to elevate us, to raise ourselves to the highest vision. In Upadeshasara, Bhagavan came down to our level and taught us. All the time, that's what we want the teacher to do. We want the teacher to come down. And great gurus do that. But at the same time, as Gita says, Uddharet Atmana Atmanam. You lift yourself by yourself. So we have to do some work ourselves also. We should see the truth as it is revealed. So that is the presumption in this text. So luckily we all have done the homework, so we should be ready. The seeker should seek the truth for the sake of the truth. The very title Saddarshanam shows the subject matter of this text. We look upon the author, Bhagwan Ramana Maharshi, as one of the Vedantic Acharya only. We do not know if he had a formal guru or not. We have seen his biography, and that I told you that as a young boy, 16 years or old, he had this Advaitic experience. So there is not any historic evidence he had a formal guru. However, we have to assume, and we do know, that he had studied Vedantic texts very well. We also see that the content of all his works is identical with what is talked about in traditional Vedantic scriptures only. Vedanta Shastra, what says, that is what he says in his works. He is not saying anything different. So we consider him as a traditional Acharya only. This I am emphasizing because there are some critics of this great Mahatma. And there are also some followers of Bhagwan Ramana Maharshi who want to claim that his teachings are different from Vedanta teachings and that he has proposed something unique. Nothing is further from the truth. We should not fall into that trap. If we study his works in line with traditional Vedantic teachings and not as something distinct, we will get the maximum benefit. This is important. Don't look upon this as something independent, as a new way to approach, to seek the truth. That mistake is made quite often, especially those people who are very much inspired by his teaching. It's almost like a cult following. And they don't give any weight to the Vedantic approach. That's not true. As we will see, I will point out what he has said in these 40 verses is consistent with what Vedanta says, what Upanishads say, what is said in Bhagavad Gita. You will see that. I will quite often refer you to the various Upanishads, give references from Bhagavad Gita and all that. So this is consistent with other scriptures that we have studied. So do not fall into that trap of thinking that it is something different. No. Saddarshanam can be taken to be a Vedanta Pramana Grantha. So we will study this text in the traditional method only, to be consistent with Shruti, Yukti and Anubhuti, which is the usual technique of studying our Shastra. Ramana Maharshi has his own unique style of presenting the Vedantic teaching. If we have to enjoy this beautiful style, we have to approach his style in the background of traditional Vedantic teaching. What is the traditional Vedantic teaching? The fundamental assessment of Vedanta is that all human problems are because of division, because of duality. Duality is called Dvaitam. Another word for division is Veda. Dvaitam, duality, or Veda, difference or division, is the cause of all problems. This idea is presented beautifully in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, where it is said, Dvitat vai bhayam bhavati. Dvividat vai bhayam bhavati. Wherever there is dvivitam, wherever there is dvaitam, wherever there is a second thing, bhayam bhavati. Fear is there. Fear is unavoidable. And Vedanta also asserts freedom from problems, fulfillment, joy, fearlessness, all that is possible only through non-duality, only through being without any divisions. Non-duality is Advaitam. Divisionlessness is Abheda. Dvaitat, Bhedat, Samsarah. From Dvaitam, from division, from duality, from division, you fall into samsara. Advaitat, Abhedat, Moksha, Anandah. Through Advaitam, through divisionlessness, you attain moksha, liberation, freedom, and bliss. This is beautifully presented in Ishavasya Upanishad, where it is said, Tatra ko mohaha, kashokaha, ekatvam, anupashyataha. One who can see that ekatva, oneness. Katra ko mohaha, where is delusion for him? Kashokaha, where is sorrow for such a person? One who sees the non-duality. No delusion, no sorrow. So the fundamental lesson of Vedanta is Dvaitam Dukkham, Advaitam Anandam. Simple. First step and lesson. Then the next lesson in Vedanta is that the division or the duality expresses in threefold forms. The first member of these three forms and the prominent member, significant member of this division is I, the subject. The individual who is experiencing this world. I, the samsari. This localized ahankara is called jiva. So the first of these three members is the jiva. So I am there and then I see the world in front of me. So the second entity or member of this division is the world that I confront. The moment I come into being, the moment I am aware of myself as an individual, the next inevitable thing I come across is this world. The world is so patently available to me, intimately available to me, directly in front of me as the object. The objective world is there and I see it, very tangible. I can perceive everything there. So that is the second entity or the member. I, first person. The world, second person. And then once I am available, once the world is available, comes the third entity. This third entity, third member is only applicable to human beings. Animals do not have this problem. They have only two members, Jiva and Jagat, subject and object. In the case of human beings, another entity comes into the picture. What is that third entity? How does it come into the picture? We as human beings, when the human being confronts the world, his intellect always looks for the cause of everything. Looking for the cause is the unique feature or the faculty of thinking, inquiry is unique to the human intellect. Cow does not ask. A tree does not ask. A chair or a table does not ask. But we ask, why? The cause of everything. As a child grows up, almost looks like the moment the child begins to speak, keeps asking why. So we have this intellect and it wants to know. If an animal is in pain, it just keeps quiet, does not make a big fuss. If we are in pain, we complain so much, keep asking, what is this pain? How did it come? And always, why did I get this pain, not somebody else? What did I do wrong? What happened? Cause hunting is irresistible for us. Chinmaya uses this term, cause hunting. So the ultimate cause hunting is, how did this world come into being? What is the cause of this creation? When you probe into the cause, in scientific language, you may call it cosmology, theory of creation. In Vedanta, we call it Srishti Vicharaha. And when you do that, that introduces the third member of this division. The third entity is called God, Ishvara. Jagat Karanam Ishvara. The cause of this world is Ishvara. Now, right now, we're going to put Ishvara as the placeholder only. Ishvara. I find that this God, the cause of this world, is not available right in front of me for me to objectify. The world is there. We can see that as an object. But the cause of the world, which we have named Ishvara, is not available for direct perception. Whatever is not available right in front of me, whatever is a paroksha vishaya, we refer to it in the third person. So the three members are I, the first person, the world, second person, and Ishvara, the third person. What is in front, we refer to. If you are standing in front of me when I'm talking to you, I will refer to you in the second person. And if somebody is there, not right there, but somewhere else, that guy, that person, third person. So keep this in mind, because Bhagavan very beautifully approaches in one of the verses, even from the grammar, first person, second person, third person. Keep this in mind. So even when we do the Shanti Pata, Sahana Vavatu, Saha, he, third person, refers to God. Naha, us, first person plural. So the first person is Jiva, the second person is Jagat, and the third person is Ishvara. So all transactions fall in this realm of Jiva, Jagat, and Ishvara. And Vedanta says this division is the cause of all our problems. The first lesson of Vedanta is that division is the cause of samsara. The second lesson is this division is expressed as I, the world, and God as separate entities. The third lesson we have to understand to appreciate the unique teaching of Ramana Maharshi. Very important lesson we have to understand. The third stage or step is that we find all these three entities, the first person entity, the second person entity, and the third person entity, all three members of this division are so interconnected that they exist together. They all three are interdependent. You cannot talk of one without the other. The three legs are connected by one common thing. When you pull one leg, the other two will fall. Clearly experience this in our day-to-day experience. How do we prove this? In the waking state, I, the jiva, the individual, I'm there. The world is also there. As you wake up, boom, the world also comes alive. And so also God, whether you talk about him, accept him or not, God as the cause of creation and as the laws of creation also comes into being. So in the waking state, all three exist together. The dream state also, all three are there, albeit the dream world is not the same as the waking world. There are some differences, but all three is there. Then the moment you go to deep sleep, I, the first person, is resolved or dissolved automatically without any separate effort. The world also gets resolved. The world gets dissolved. You do not experience a world. In deep sleep. You are not awake. You are not dreaming. So when 1 and 2 are gone, where is the question of third? In deep sleep, are you going to be looking for God? There is only abheda. So the third lesson is that these three components are interdependent. You have to have all the three together, or you have to eliminate all of them. So the consequence is elimination of division means elimination of all the three. We can accept the elimination of the individual, even fathom the elimination of the world, but how to swallow the elimination of God? If Vedanta comes in and says, eliminate God, oh my God, in this respect, it looks like Vedanta is Nastika, atheist. A localized God is as much the cause of samsara as a localized jiva. A localized God is as much finite as a localized jiva. So jiva jagat ishvara veda nivrittihi is moksha. So this is the next step. So what comes after that? If you want to eliminate jiva jagat ishvara veda, you want to eliminate this division of I, world, and God, you have to go to the root cause. It's like if you want to cure a disease, you have to root out what is causing the disease. If you just treat the symptoms, you will feel good for some time, then the uneasiness comes back because the disease has not been cured. Here also, this Bheda division has to be removed, which means all three have to be eliminated. And for that, we need to investigate the root cause of this division. What is causing the division? Vedanta says the division is caused by ignorance. Ajnanameva jiva jagat ishvara bhedasya karanam. Ignorance only is the cause of the I, world, God division. Therefore, only if you eliminate the ignorance, the division will go away. Ignorance of what? We cannot say it is the ignorance of jiva. Jiva is an effect, and we know that individual, everything you want to know, you know. So there is no ignorance. We cannot say it is the ignorance of Jagat. Again, for the same reason, it is also an effect, and we have explored, discovered so many things. We know so much about this world. So we cannot say it is ignorance of Jagat. So also Ishvara. Even Ishvara is an effect. All these three are the effects of ignorance. Therefore, it has to be ignorance of something that is other than Jiva Jagat and the Veda. Ignorance, which is the cause of the division, must be the ignorance of a divisionless entity. Advaita abheda vastu ajnanam eva jiva jagat ishvara vedasya karanam. Ignorance of the non-dual entity, that is, not knowing that non-dual entity, that is what is causing the Jiva Jagat Veda. So what is that divisionless entity whose ignorance is causing this the Jiva Jagat Ishvara Veda? Vedanta has several methods of answering this question, but we are going to focus on the method of Ramana Maharshi. He gives the answer as the existence principle. Existence principle is the divisionless entity, and that is called Sat. It's called Brahman in Vedanta. The word Sat is also used. Sadeva Saumyam Idamagra Asit Ekameva Advitiyam, said in Chandogya. This Sat principle we've also seen in Dakshinamurti Stotram, 3rd verse. Yasyaiva Spuranam Sadatmakam Asat Kalpartakam Bhasate Sakshat Tattvamasiti Veda Vachasa Yo Bodhayatyashritan. Existence or isness is not a part, it is not a product, it is not a property of either Jiva or Jagat or Ishvara. Then what is it? Existence is an entity different from all the three, but pervades all of them. It lends existence to all of them. Therefore, we are able to say Jiva is, Jagat is, Ishvara is. The isness of each of these does not belong to any of them, but different from them. It is something that pervades all the three. The inherent existence, this permeating existence, is the divisionless principle. This is the truth of all the three. This existence alone, with Nama Rupa, with names and forms, appears as the Jiva, Jagat and Ishvara also. Once a person knows this divisionless Sat, that knowledge is called Saddarshanam. So when a person gets this Saddarshanam, the immediate result is the ignorance goes away, knowledge dawns. And when knowledge dawns, ignorance is gone. When ignorance goes away, the division caused by the ignorance also goes away. Saddarshanena sad ajnanam avagacchati. Ajnana nashena ajnana janya bhedaha avagacchati. With the knowledge of the existence principle, that ignorance goes, and when the ignorance goes, the ignorance born division goes away. When the division goes away, Jiva, Jagat, and Ishvara also disappear. What do we mean by saying they all disappear? That means understanding them as one Sat with three different Nama Rupa. Name, Sat, form, that's all. This is not a physical disappearance. Once you get the understanding, it doesn't mean that the world is going to disappear. No. I allow the Nama Rupa Bheda to continue. Like the bracelet or the necklace or the ring, they all remain as they are. You do not need to melt them to see the gold. You know that they are all different forms and the corresponding names are there. But you know that all of them is gold. Now to arrive at the divisionless Sat, where should we search? To arrive at the gold, which ornament should we study? If there are three different ornaments, which is all made of gold, to see the gold, where do you start? Start anywhere. All of them will lead to gold only. Similarly, to arrive at the divisionless Sat, you can inquire into any one of these three. You can take up Jiva, Jagat, and Ishvara and do the vichara. The one that is readily available for analysis is Jiva. You are there. You can never be away from you. So let us inquire into this ahankara and arrive at Sat. That Sat that permeates this aham, once it is reduced to Nama Rupa and eliminated, actually you do not need to eliminate the other two. Because as I said, once you remove one leg of the stool, everything crumbles. Once the ahankara adhisthana is arrived at, all the three are simultaneously eliminated. Therefore, Jagat Vichara and Ishvara Vichara can be replaced by the easier, intimately available Ahankara Vichara. This is the famous Who Am I inquiry of Ramana Maharshi. This Ahankara Vichara, this is Ahankara Vichara. This is the Adhisthana Vichara. Adhisthana Saddarshanam eva moksha karanam. This inquiry and analysis is what is done in this text. Okay? Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shante Shante Shantehi Harihi Om Shri Guru Namaha Harihi Om.